Welcome, viewers and listeners, GBN TV, whether you view in Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channels 20. Good morning. Those of you via Classic Radio, 105.5, 105.9. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. It's Monday. It's the 11th day of September 2023. A day that lots of folks in the world may remember a couple of years ago. Good morning to you, Sylvan. And, of course, guest with us this morning, that's Mr. Richardson. Good morning to you. So both of you, welcome. Good morning. Yeah. So good morning. Do you remember September 11th a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Which do you want to say good morning first?
I would like to say good morning to the general public, the diaspora, and especially to the teaching fraternity. And most so, this morning, September 11th, is my daughter's birthday.
Well, happy birthday to her.
16th birthday.
All right, sweet 16 on the birthday, right?
Yeah, so I say happy birthday to Kirill Richardson.
All right.
Good.
That's good.
So good morning to listeners, followers, viewers of this program that I think a lot of people have grown to like and to love. We've been having some feedback. Last couple of days I've been meeting. Let me say good morning to that lady I met at the Cooperative Bank in Grandin. She gave me some really good words of encouragement in terms of the quality of the program and the impact it is really having
great
on her as an individual, and she thinks that what it's doing for Grenada.
All right.
And so, and it's my pleasure to be sitting with Mr. Richardson too. Right?
Yes. I want to welcome him. I would like to welcome him back, as I think I had him before.
Oh, yes.
And we had some really fruitful conversation pertaining to youngsters in school and their behavioral patterns and so forth, which he mitigates from time to time, just in case an issue arises that he has to follow. Because it's with the I'm trying to remember the exact department.
School attendant officer.
School attendant officer.
Yes. Student Support Services Unit, Ministry of Education.
Great.
Yeah, he's like almost like an education police.
That's right. Some schools they told me that.
They do that.
Yeah.
School
really?
police.
So he interacted a lot with police officers in my previous engagement as the community relations head head of that department. I interacted a lot with him, and then I sat on the Child Protection Authority board as well. And there I had interaction with them as well and his other colleagues. So
well, it all intermingles nicely, because last Thursday I did have the police and I had the Child Protection Authority with me last week to get the police, and we were talking about ways in which let me get the exact, of course, heading that we spoke about last week, and it was really interesting to know how the Child Protection Authority feels. But we were more talking in terms of preventative, in terms of when youngsters get themselves involved into issues, young people. Let me get the exact information that we actually spoke about, and it's nice to know that we could actually, for some reason, my information is slow in coming this morning.
We had some previous run-ins in Nagma.
Oh yeah,
as the coordinator for St. David's.
Man, think about it. It goes way back. Correct. Coordinator for St. David when I was disaster coordinator.
That's right.
Yes. So wow. So we link, we tied, and so today. We count it a pleasure to be discussing side to side on some very current and pressing issues. The whole issue of mitigating the back to school risk that could cover a lot of different things, from the heat wave we are currently experiencing, from health issues and so forth, advisories that can be given, and the general risk and how aspect of his responsibility with Ministry of Education interact with what our program is really doing.
All right,
so
great.
it's really a pleasure for us to be able to join that conversation. But before we link into it, you mentioned 9/11, and he spoke of his daughter. Is it your daughter? He says
his daughter's birthday today.
16, and for a lot of us, we don't really celebrate 16 too much. I prefer to celebrate 18.
Yeah,
because 16 creates, in my opinion, the wrong message to celebrate.
All right.
So I hope you're telling your daughter that. And so it gives the break for the wrong reason, I believe. So when my daughter was 16, there was no big celebration. So I told her I look forward to the 18th with her, and then 21, where you can have the bigger one.
Yeah.
But 9/11 has an impact on the globe, similar to that of COVID. And 9/11, September 9/11, created a global shift that we know either benefiting from or we suffer the consequences of disadvantage. The inconveniences of traveling was created by 9/11.
Yes.
And maybe the most safe environment as well as a positive spill out in traveling and other things came from 9/11. I remember I was in Honduras when it occurred. And so it was just like from my room, there's another colleague from Grenada there, and we were speaking security issues, disaster management related issues, and so on. We're in Honduras, and then we woke up and look. We thought it was like, that couldn't be real.
Yeah.
And while we were speaking about it, my other colleague called me from the room that she was, and she said, are you looking at the TV? And I was here, yeah, I am. And while we were looking at TV, with the conversation, we saw the other plane just running into the tower, which was like, and that has changed the world forever. And so the whole aspect of changes, realities of the planet Earth on which we are living, is the one that we need to really readjust to. We have to coexist. And so what's happening with us, similarly with the heat wave, and what's happening with global impact on climate change and variability, some of the things that we need to also.
Yes, and as you say that 9/11 also, what we would say, put into place certain risk management capacities so that we could harden targets and things like that.
Absolutely.
So, it has its benefits, although the drawbacks.
It has just changed the landscape of a lot of things that we took for granted before, especially with travel, as Mr. McIntyre referred to, travel and so forth. And just overall security as well, it has certainly changed the whole landscape of that. Well, welcome back once again, listeners and viewers. And we're back this morning, and a bit of a continuation of the program we have in the last 2 weeks. Is one of those programs we seem to have really expanding on.
Yes.
You understand? Because, we started this about 2 weeks ago, and there's so much to speak about relating to this. We're talking about, the back-to-school risk mitigation, and this morning we do have Mr. Richardson from the Ministry of Education who will expand a whole lot more for us. He has information that we may not be able to bring across this morning by ourselves. So we're going to tweak that. Usually, Sylvan, we do usually have that bit of a chit-chat when we kick it off. We talk about 9/11. There's been so much happening for the last from last week with our program to now. There's so much have happened. We always have that little bit of chit-chat before we actually kick the program off, Mr. Richardson. We always have that bit of, so. And one of the conversation I want us to have, even though it will coincide with what we're talking about this morning, is the heat. The heat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
The heat that's been out there. There's been, I heard little bulletins went out, especially for the schools, in terms of, parents should help in terms of make sure their children don't get dehydrated, make sure they get enough water, and so forth. Let's have a bit of conversation about that before we kick into anything else, because there's so much we could talk about this morning.
Okay, my wife is a teacher also, so this morning one of the things that she did, she took a fan to bring into a classroom.
Your fan from home?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're one fan down.
And it would stay in the school.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
She's gonna hear you on the program. You know that, right?
So that's one of the things that she did. Also, we are encouraging parents to ensure that the children load up with plenty of fuel, whether it's water, juice, whatsoever. Keep more inside. We're not saying that children must not play, but they must keep inside. Okay. And by doing that, they would tend to somewhat reserve most of their fuel, and they would be able to. But in some schools, principals are also purchasing fans. I know for St. Paul's government, I went and purchased about 5 fans for them last week. Yeah. So principals are doing whatever they can to ensure that the classroom environment remains somewhat in a very conducive condition for learning to take place.
All right.
Yeah, let me, just if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
As he mentioned, buying fans and so forth. I don't want to put him on the spot or ask him the question, but I think the reality of the times is indicating to us that air condition, whether it's by a fan or otherwise, or the regular AC, cold, and so forth, that is not a luxury. I am hoping that the Ministry of Education is considering that making the environment for learning a bit better.
Yes.
We may have to consider having our institution air conditioned. That should be a consideration. I hope you can tell me what is the angle on that. And maybe soon we will have to consider having our classrooms, our medium of learning to be air conditioned, and still when the opportunities for outdoor activities, we also would create that. So I just wanted to expand on that, talk about that a little bit.
Well, how conducive is that in Grenada anyway? We're talking cost factor.
That's right. But in some instances, do you know that some AC use less current than the fan?
Yes.
So it's somewhat what I would say. If we are looking to go green, then schools are ideal, Mr. McIntyre. They have plenty roof spaces that we can put some
solar
cells
panels,
there and use some of that to generate the electricity for. And as Mr. McIntyre say, air condition now is not really a luxury. It becomes a necessity. And if we want to provide the right environment for learning, we need to go into that direction. I was in a meeting with the BNTF, and one teacher, that new wing that they are putting up, one teacher, came in and suggests that you should, in this modern time, ensure that these rooms are equipped with air conditions.
Absolutely.
That's forward thinking, and the ministry would have to go in that vein.
All right. I'm thinking about what you said, but sometimes we look at the design of previous schools that were built.
Yes.
A lot of modification may have to take place in terms of the windows that have been sealed off and so forth. So we're looking at that. Maybe an issue or not.
Yes.
Just if you really want to, you got to have it done.
Yeah.
You understand? You got to have it done. But that certainly will be. It will also help for the concentration of youngsters. You're not focusing on the heat, but you could now focus on what's being delivered to you from the teacher, other than worrying about, I'm feeling hot, so I can't focus. We as adults, we know how to focus. It deteriorates our focus a wee bit when the temperature is really hot.
Yeah.
You just don't focus on it. Even with a fan blowing on you, it's not even that comfortable at times.
That's right.
You understand?
And what I can say is that the Ministry of Education, we welcome corporate citizens.
You read my mind.
That they can chip in, and they can also ensure that schools in the community are
offer some sponsorship and say
that's right.
And AC or two for the school.
For example, schools down in the south of the island, we have plenty of business places that can, outfit these schools with these facilities so that learning can take place.
So I really applaud that, because that's exactly my point I was waiting to chip in on. That maybe not from your point, but let me make the invitation for corporate citizens to be part of this process in making our education environment more conducive to learning.
Sure.
And so we always say that Grenada is ours and it's not a ministerial thing, but what we want to do should be driven by policy, and the state mechanism has to take a lead role in ensuring that that's the angle that we go to, and you would get the corporate Grenada to come on board. And I think by our nature, we would want to be able to contribute, but there has to be, I continue to speak about the leadership of the processes. There has to be some initiative either by government, by the state mechanism, or some entity of the state mechanism taking that lead role and saying, this is what we want to do, this is what it's going to take, and invite corporate Grenada. You'd find people might come forward and voluntary to it, but if there is a drive, if there's an initiative, it would generate some more support.
I mean, just being here this morning, persons in the diaspora that has the finances and thing, would even the old school that they went to,
absolutely,
they would chip in. I know how the Grenadian public operates. So, I mean, after speaking here, probably Mr. McIntyre, you might get a few calls, and persons might want to so do.
Yes, I know. The thought that come to mind now in terms from the Ministry of Education point of view, I'm not sure it may lead into your department, but it always goes to how serious is it of a problem now in terms of the heat situation in Grenada? How worrisome is it?
At school in particular?
In schools in particular.
What you get feedback? Yeah.
Quite worrisome, because with this heat, it causes children to behave or misbehave in a particular way.
Yes.
Because as you rightly say, when the heat is turned on, they cannot really concentrate on the lesson, especially the smaller children. It would really adversely affect them. So we are doing all in our powers, as I rightly said before, to encourage parents to hydrate the children as much as possible, teachers allow children now to be drinking the water in classroom and things like that. So we are doing what we can at this present time to ensure that children are most comfortable.
I see it also as being a bit of a distraction, eh? By now where teachers allow you to drink water in class and all of these things. And if the classroom maybe was air conditioned, no, they wouldn't have the need for that. They were able to focus. Now you're thinking about a teacher teaching, and every minute or two a child is taking and drinking water. That is a total distraction, not paying attention much to what is being taught. You understand? So something has to be done. That's where, as Mr. McIntyre was, climate change and everything has stepped in, and we have to get to the times.
Yes, gradually. So it could be incremental in terms of getting there. So you take a classroom at a time, maybe an area at a time, and ensure that the retrofitting to accommodate AC units has to be done, and then procuring and installing the unit is another venture. But the question I want to ask, though, is the issues has to be policed. Yeah. And it has to be directed, it has to be driven. And while it is said, Mr. Richardson, that we're doing all in our power to ensure it happens, the question would be, is there a regime, is there a structure that would speak to what has to be done and a follow-through? And by that I mean, parents are encouraged to do certain things, we see that to them. Teachers are expected to do certain things, we say that to them. But has the ministry put a system in place to ensure like an inspection process or a follow-through process to ensure that teachers are doing what they're supposed to do? And are we saying that there is almost an inspection of students as they come through to ensure that they carry water themselves? Or are we saying that there are sufficient standpipes and faucets and maybe fountains at schools where the children could be rehydrated and so I'm saying here that there has to be a structure that ensures, and there has to be a regime, and there has to be a process of ensuring that happens. So seeing it out there, it is just all well and good, but what mechanism is there?
Mr. McIntyre, we have the district education officer, and in each school we have a district team. The team work along with the management team in each school. So that's how the filtering of information is done in that particular vein. So once we get what we would say from the top, it just filter right down smoothly, and you have the management team, and then we would have the district education officer together with persons like me who goes to the different school to ensure that things are happening as it's supposed to be.
I raise a question of health concerns now with the heat factor and the heat condition that we're experiencing. What whole concern is the ministry putting in terms of young individuals going to school, the health factor that's going around right now in terms of health concerns?
Well, to let you know that normally on every district team, there is a police officer, a nurse, a healthcare provider, and this thing is so unique that it could be filtered down quite easily. I don't know how the progress is with what I would say the healthcare practitioner. But in the school, there are persons that are training Red Cross, and they too can, because in the majority of some schools, we have the Red Cross there in some schools. So they have some health training that they will be able to administer if something do happen. Also, as we speak mitigation, for example, over the weekend you hear about this earthquake. Now we also at schools, we need to ensure that we have some drills, ensure that we have a muster point where children can assemble if something like an earthquake take place, but we have to ensure that we tie it down and ensure that the principals and the department, management department in schools take these things, what we would say, very seriously. Now, we have to plan, and we have to ensure that we don't just plan, but when planning, we do some activities. For example, ensure that at the pedestrian crossings at schools, the teachers can go there with the children and show them how to cross.
Yes.
Not just there's a pedestrian crossing, it's painted and things like that, but you need to carry out a drill so that the young children, even the older ones.
I don't see much of that happening now as before. I mean, in my younger days going to school, I used to see that happening a lot.
Well, all that is risk management.
But I'm just saying, I just don't see it happening as much as before.
The bus drivers, okay, they should ensure on weekend they take care of the braking mechanism, make sure that the vehicles are serviced, because we want to ensure that when you carry the children in particular and the other passengers, you bring them safely to the destinations. So we, would like to ensure that those busmen, please check on your vehicle, service it, so that it would be in proper working conditions, so that we would mitigate against any of those risks that would really take place.
Right. I listened to the GBN program this morning, and part of it was the tax reduction regime and the amnesty extension, etc. And I think the host asked one of the facilities on the program, explain to the listening audience what's the benefit of tax. And so he went into a breakdown, the reason why people should pay taxes.
Sure.
Now, the heat wave is on, and we understand the implication of not being, properly hydrated and so forth, having sufficient water. But how intense is the program in schools and otherwise in saying to students the importance? I know growing up, I just drank water because I was running all about, I get thirsty and I drink the water. I wasn't thinking of what benefit you can have. I didn't like soup because I really didn't like the taste of soup and this feel in your mouth. But I wasn't really schooled into a lot of the benefit of that. And I think one of the lack maybe in our programs, we say drink water, stay away from the excessive heat and all of that. But I think a lot more need to go into saying the reason why and the implication that it would have on the body, and the amount of water that the body consists of, what percentage that, and how important it is, and drill that a bit more, while the teachers in biology and the health sciences and all that may be teaching other things. I think because of the heat wave that we're experiencing,
yes,
a lot of focus should be on the importance of having fluid or liquid in the body and the amount and how it should be taken.
Mr. Mark, as a past FIFA referee,
yes,
we were told that in order to do a match, we have to hydrate 3 days in advance.
Okay.
All right.
Because the water that you drink now does not really goes to the cell immediately. So you have to drink water in advance so that your body cells will take in this water, keep them turgid and nice, so that if even though you get injured, it would repair itself quickly and all these sorts of things.
In a nutshell, you're saying the effort of encouraging youngsters to drink water should begin from home.
Sure.
Yes.
And begin from home.
The water you
not
drink
just waiting
today
for when you
is
go to school.
Let's say Wednesday.
For Wednesday.
Yeah.
So over the weekend you should have enough water in you that should accommodate for today.
That's right.
All right.
Yes.
We due for a break. We should take a break at least 15 minutes ago, but we due for a break. Conversation was fruitful, so
really
sometimes
rich.
let's go through.
Very, very rich.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we talk some more. The phones have been going. We're probably going to entertain some calls also. So stay with us, folks. We're coming right back. Don't touch your dial.
Yeah.
The NLA is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more. more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more. With Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
You came and found it clean.
You frolicked in it, you thrived on it. And no matter what flag or latitude, our economies depend on it.
Yet look at you, out the window.
Mindlessly tossed, carelessly dumped anywhere.
Take it just evaporates because you don't see it. Rivers,
Gutters,
Dump sites.
our blue waters unite us.
Each singular act multiplies the pollution that plagues us, that
Threatens the green and blue that sustains us.
but we can also discuss
If we put waste to work, not dumpable,
bankable.
reuse it,
repurpose it.
recycle it.
Create jobs, build industries.
It takes just you
You.
And me.
to translate green actions into blue oceans.
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
I want you to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it, and relax it. Eliminate violence. Who does man of the party? Tell them it's 4-7 trade. Shout it, let them know where we represent 4-7 trade. Who's the body's passing? 4-7 trade. Them no crazy like.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. It's to the point for today, Monday, the 11th of September. With me this morning, we have Mr. Richardson from the Ministry of Education and, of course, Mr. Sylvan Intyre. We continue with our series of program this morning, Back to School Risk Mitigation. In this segment, I want to get into advice that we offer to parents, road users in general, this morning, especially when it comes to youngsters around this time of the year, the heat even, in terms of walking on the street. A lot of our focus within the first segment was on heat. It's still one of the critical factors we're speaking about in this segment also, what's going on these days. Parents, advice to parents. Who want to take up on that in terms of
What I can say is that advice to parents as pedestrian bringing the children to school, you must always face the oncoming traffic. So you cannot walk on the other side of the road and give your back to the vehicles coming to you. So that's a very important thing. Number one, parents must not stay on the side and hold the children hand to the road. The parents should stay more to the road and hold the children closer to the side.
Protecting your son or daughter.
That's right. So these are some of the things. And also, when they approach a pedestrian crossing, it's not just approach a pedestrian crossing and just because you are on the pedestrian crossing, you just move over to the other side. You look up, you look down. Paul Kings Douglas and the other guy have a ad on the you should look up, look down, make sure the driver give you the okay, and then you proceed. But you must not dance on the pedestrian crossing. You try to move as quickly as possible, because if you are not someone with a disability, I expect you to move quickly on the pedestrian crossing. So these are some of the advice that we can give to parents when dropping off the children to school. Again, before on the lane, parents used to go down, which I thought was a kind of hazard. Go down by the panyard, drop the children to Westmoreland, and then have to come up, and then you're having a whole traffic. I think they could have just dropped the children and allow them to just, with the pedestrian crossing, and they go down there. Instead, you go down on the court. Then when you're coming back up now, it creates a kind of traffic congestion there for you to have to come on. So that is some of the things that we would, advise parents. And as we said earlier on, we encourage parents to make sure that the children have water with them in school and they can tap up on the hydration before going to school. So, for example, on mornings, you drink, let's say, about two glasses of water. That would start your day going, not tea, water. Yes.
Right.
And not too much of the high fructose juices, because some children that tend to what we would call hyper.
Understand.
So
and try to keep the water room temperature too, instead of the actual cold
that's
water.
Right. That's the best water to take in, room temperature water.
So let me just chime in a little bit on that. And from two things that you said, one, the pedestrian and the road traffic issues. So from the Asha McIntyre Road Safety Foundation, one of the things that we were tasked with is doing an analysis of the risk associated with accidents on the road, etc. And so far, preliminary indications are, and you may ask the question whether or not some of the traffic, not the violations, but the incidences, the accidents, whether they were as a result of the pedestrians or whether it was as a result of the drivers.
Okay.
And whether or not it was related, a lot of it is related to pedestrian crossing or whether to other causes. And so far, preliminary indications are that there are not many incidences at pedestrian crossings. What is and has been occurring a lot, and maybe the work that has gone in by the police and some parents has minimized that, but we cannot drop our guards on that. Okay. But there has not been a lot of incidences on pedestrian crossings. What we've come up with so far, the incidents and the accidents so far, they are outside of pedestrian crossings.
Okay.
And so the whole aspect of road safety here relating to commute has to be one of the points that you made. The oncoming traffic. When people walk, they jog or otherwise. Somebody was telling me, a gentleman was telling me last week that he was walking along the same Morris Bishop Highway, lower down, closer to the Points Hotel. And a vehicle struck him, the mirror struck him so hard on his side, on his arm. And and one of the reasons being he was not clothed properly in terms of reflective, and the other thing, he was walking with his back towards the traffic. And we've seen a lot of incidents of that, and the other causes of accidents a lot. So it has to be a lot with drivers' error and the ability to maneuver the vehicles under the right conditions. Some of them have been, either their vision has been impaired as a result of the substances that they may have induced, whether it be by smoking, inhalation, or drinking as a cause of alcohol, etc. Those have been a lot of the contributing factors to that. And so a lot of work has to be done with parents in advising the children as to how they can walk. And a lot of work has gone into the proper use of pedestrian crossing, which should continue. And I think that has prevented a lot of accidents and incidences so far. As it relates to the preparation for hydration, etc., and the amount of water, just drinking water like that, especially room temperature water, is not a very pleasant thing to the mouth initially.
That's for true.
Trust me, it is not just.
Sometimes you need it a little cool, which is understandable.
Yes,
but we don't. But I sometimes I realize if you drink it that cool, it's to me it dries you up more.
It would. I mean, as my colleague has said, room temperature water or just regular water is the best to drink. Yeah. But it does not appeal to your buds, your taste buds, and the entry point is not sometimes for me. I like really cold water, unfortunately. But the point I want to make here is that anything that you want to grow, it has to start from small. Anything you want to benefit later on, it has to start from small. So culturing your children from very early, and this is why some cultures, they start with the children, they don't use ice water, period. And where it started, from the infant stage.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to culture parents now for later, I mean, the bag is out, the cat jump out already in our case, so we had to try to get them back in by trying to get them to get to use soup and to get your room temperature. You can't get me to drink water just regularly. I get as much. I like my water. I drink gallons of it. And so the other thing, parents must start teaching their children the advantages of using, again, have me for saying soups and water, because soups has a lot of liquid in it, fluid in it as well, and it will help. Now, the sweet and the salt, they do have implication for the amount of fluid that you use.
Yes.
The salt will cause you to use up more water. Obviously, your body going to use up much more.
Yes.
The sugar, similar. So you tell them if you reduce the amount of salt and sugar intake, it also helps you to be rehydrated much quicker. Your body will use up less water at a particular time. Now, again, the amount of fluid that you have, the plasma, you have the serum and all these things in your blood component. And so your blood also need the amount of fluid in it to be able to take the nutrients around the body effectively. So if there's a reduced intake in the amount of water or fluid that you take into the body, it has its implication on your volume of blood and its circulation as well. And you need blood circulation to take everything around the body, to take nutrients and to take the oxygen. And that's what the basic thing that somebody needs to survive. Yes. So if you are able to break this down, to carry waste away, if you're able to bring those simple things to children and drive it, the more you intake the sodas and the salting and so forth, and some of the snacks that people use, they must use more water. Yeah. So it's a matter of culturing the children properly, having them to understand, not just tell them you do as I say and that's the end of it, but we also have to try to break it down in the simplest of languages to them, that they understand the benefit and the importance of it.
I certainly do agree with that. And anything you want to chime in on that? Anything
well, also parents have to ensure that if they can have salads. Mr. Mark talked about soups.
Yeah.
Salads also would help, because with salads you have plenty of water in there, and it would help to hydrate you. But normally when you go to functions in Grenada, the salads remain and the meat is taken away and finished quickly.
And the cabs are stocked up on it.
Yes.
Let's entertain a call. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yeah, good morning, GT, and morning to Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Richardson. I'm glad that you folks have chosen to have the conversation, especially around heat, because I trigger off an earlier conversation, because I think we need to treat the heat situation as a crisis, because we have never really had the level of heat we have. Unfortunately, we don't listen to the people who can see or sense things ahead of time, because over 2 years ago, I began talking about the problem of heat. People turning up at the hospital with heat-related issues. Even Dr. Lyndon Glasgow did a study for PAHO, which says that, heat was a real problem. And also Dr. Silly admitted to me on a program out of UWI that people were also being affected and probably even dying related issue in Barbados and the Caribbean generally. So I think what is needed more than anything else is for us to really arrest the situation by maybe doing some practical things. One of the things that we can do is to probably establish or impose a moratorium on tree cutting. People still cutting tree and burning. I mean, madly, So we need to do something about that. So if we can do that, and also to help people to take responsibility of their health. The issue of water and the body was mentioned earlier. The fact is that the brain needs one fifth of all the fluid that is consumed. So if we don't consume enough water, we could see what would happen, especially if we are alcoholic. We are alcohol dependent or so. It makes it worse because, of course, alcohol and the brain doesn't work together. Not that I'm a preacher here, but it's thing. And the cold water, people should stay away from cold water because it's not good for your heart and your digestion. So there's a lot of things that we need to talk about, but we need to have a conversation, we need to have dialogue. And in terms of how we go forward, how we construct school or learning environment, it must be inviting, it must be encouraging. Some of the schools that are wrong, if I had children, I wouldn't take them to school as being a teacher myself from the past. Because they look more like prison, some of them. We need to build inviting, same thing with community centers. We need to build a place of habitation, public habitation, that could invite learning, that could invite freedom of the spirit. And so that is not the case. And also populate their schools and public places with trees and make it green. And don't only talk about green spaces and then at the same time talk about mining our oil and gas and that kind of thing, which I think is stupid. We're talking about climate. But we need to really take this thing seriously because, and I would end here, it has been predicted that this year would be the coolest going forward. It would not get cooler, it would only get hotter, so we really have to do something about it. Thank you very much for indulgence.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. Anybody want to respond to anything the caller said that may have grabbed your interest?
What I can say is that Mr. Antoine is on point, and I must also say that COVID have some good, because during COVID time, some classes was retrofitted with pipes inside of the classroom, and many little faucets around the school because people had to wash their hands at different points. So it comes just good right now because they have added facilities to hydrate themselves.
Yeah. So my contribution to this process comes in right on the heel of the last point the caller made in terms of taking the whole issue at another level. I think there has to be a national undertaking where that is concerned because I don't think it's really going to get better. But we have to try to, educate our populace in how they can best handle this situation. So I think we should generate more community forum and educating people in how they can deal with this situation. I think a small program like ours is not sufficient. And I think just the information just generally, and so that may not be reaching all the audiences and so forth, telling them to hydrate themselves may not be sufficient. In addition to that, I think our National Water and Sewage Authority has some responsibility as well in what not just ensuring, but they should do more in trying to convince people that the water that they're providing, it's potable water, it's water that's good for consumption, and people must not tend to believe that to drink water you have to get bottled water. And Nawasa, I'm not really beating you, but I think you can come up and convince people that the water that you're providing, it's quality water and people should become more used to it. So it's an opportunity now that people should hydrate themselves more for us to convince especially the younger one, that the water that is provided through the tap is good water and it could be used just as is. And then it's one of the things that we can pride ourselves on as citizens of Grenada, that we do have good water, proper water that we can use across.
Right. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Hey, good morning, brother. How you doing?
Not bad. Go right ahead.
To Sylvan. Good morning to the next guy. The next guy raised a point with the fans. He went and buy how much fans for a particular school. There's a school in Dunfermline, a daycare center, I should say. And I was surprised there was no fan there. You have little babies in a place and there was no fan in all this heat. Just imagine, in Dunfermline, that little daycare. So I think Tessa or the next lady should go over there and see if they could put some fans there. I think it's urgent. But you raised a point about solar. I've been telling Grenadians that for the longest while. It doesn't make any sense, or the future of Grenada is not with Grenada. If Grenada get on board and go solar, they will get lost. They will get left. You have free energy outside it. Let's look outside, bro. Let's look at the sun that's blazing down. You're not going to take a solar panel is about $300. A particular, like a daycare center, might take about 4 to 5 panels and an inverter. may come to about $2,000 or $3,000 just to get that, and the technician to put it on. It's not expensive, as you might think. And then you're using free energy for about 20 years. So why are we here fighting up with bills? Greenlight coming and cut off your crumb because you can't pay the bill. Why are we going through all this trouble with Greenlight? It's a simple process. If Greenlight going to get on board and provide cheap energy for the people of this country, people go out there and get your energy. RBT is giving you a loan for that, Go out and get your loan and put solar panels on your house and on your schools and your daycare center, wherever. And let's show Greenlight that we can move forward. Because if they don't want to move forward and giving us cheap energy, where we can stay with Greenlight and run an AC in our house and run a fan. Let's look at that. We have about 60,000 homes in Grenada here. I show each house in this country have a fan. So you're over 60,000 fans in this country you're blowing every night. And I don't think you have anybody who could fix a fan in Grenada. So when it's spoiled, you're going to buy next one. So there's a business here knowing how to fix fan. Our young people not even thinking about that. You could fix about 10 fans a day in this country at maybe $50 to fix a fan. And the price to fix a fan is not that expensive. Like a fan normally, I think, is that little black thing on the fan, inside the fan, where they go. So let's put back one. That's it. So fan doesn't really spoil.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
That last point to Canadians. Even a blender in your house, when people say the blender spoil, most blenders come with a fuse. Sometimes just a fuse that what blow, but they throw the blender outside. So there are a lot of things we need to know as our people to better our life, and we don't know. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning.
So for the callers' information, there are a lot more than the fuses and so on, the black thing inside the fans that could go wrong and so forth that it cost them. There are a lot more to it. But he's right, there's an opportunity for us when situation arise. Before we accept the other caller, though, I just want to say, though, that I don't know that we've had any heat-related deaths or otherwise.
Yes.
Or we've had any exacerbated injuries as a result of the heat wave. Maybe we are doing something okay so far. But I think there's need for an expansion of that. There has to be, the caller made a point of the daycare center without a fan or some form of cooling. Maybe they've assessed the level of the cooling that may not be. The point here is there an inspection process? Are there thermometers set up or instruments to gauge the amount of heat level at particular facilities and so on? That is an angle that we need to go, and let's be proactive. There might be institutions, there might be workplaces that might be operating at particular conditions that causing people to be uncomfortable and may cause them to be less healthy. So I think there, in this time that we are experiencing this heat wave, is an opportunity for our health and maybe education sectors to be able to go through these institutions, and even the Ministry of the Labor Department, etc.
Step up their game
and go to these places. There are instruments that you can measure heat levels and so forth. And if you go to a workplace, you put on that thermometer and you realize that heat level is beyond, there should be a policy that drives that kind of a thing. So again, it's in some instances it's cascading, in some instances it's spiral, but it's a movement that has to be undertaken to ensure that we do not lose any life at all.
Right.
So as some people are indicating that it's likely to get worse, let's be on our game. Let us create an evaluation process, an inspection process, and an enforcement to ensure that the things that are in there, that it's being adhered to.
All right. Before we take the next call, Mr. McIntyre, I see someone is taking you the test and saying that we should actually look at the quality of the water that we're receiving from now on, sir.
Oh, yeah. There's absolutely no problem in that. So it goes back to the point we were making, testing and so on, but we have the confidence in it that if they're providing that water to the public, it has to have had to satisfy some condition. There's something called the quality and standard testing by the Bureau of Standards.
Yes.
They do have to go through this process regularly to ensure that's what it is. But the color is not off, that there are times that you may see the color, and color doesn't necessarily mean
it's bad,
that the quality is bad.
It's so true.
But if you satisfy people and say they've gone through this inspection process, again, maybe Nawasa again could be on a bit more often.
All right.
to console people that, yes, what you're getting is good.
Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yes, good morning, GT. Thank you for taking my call. Good morning to your guests. Mr. McIntyre, good morning to you. I admire your strength since the death of your son. I tried reaching you, but I seem to have a wrong number. Anyway, why I'm calling this morning, we seem to have a health crisis on our hands with the heat. but yet we are not hearing from the medical association. And I am saying the time is now for them to take control of the situation, because a simple thing as drinking too much water, I saw it on a documentary where a child drowned. The cause of death was drowning, because every time she did something wrong, they gave her a glass of water to drink, and she drank too much water. These days, all you're hearing is drink water, but you need to know how much is enough. So I'm saying the time has come for the medical association to take control of the situation. Every time I look and I see the Met Office giving us health tips, the Met Office giving us health tips, I giggle. I say, yes, well, maybe they can give us a little tip, but, because they know that it's hot out there. But this is more serious than we are taking it. And we need to hear from the health association. They need to tell us how to cope with this heat and what to do. By people simply saying, drink water, drink plenty water, that is not the answer. I don't believe, because as I say, I saw the documentary where the child drowned on dry land from drinking too much water. Her organs, gave way. But I thank you for your time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
One health tip that I can give, I'm not a doctor, but what I should say, a fitness instructor. You can wet a rag, put it around your neck, and it gives a great relief. Yeah.
From the heat.
And you know the reason why that happens? Because a person loses body heat most in your head and at your feet. So if you do the head, you're secure, you're able to keep that area cool. And if you're able to have your feet as well properly aided and so forth, you can also be able to recover.
We may have time to entertain one more caller this morning, and then we get some closing remarks. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Hi, good morning. I want to agree with the last caller. Good morning to Mr. McIntyre. I just wondering if some of the farms in Grenada, if they see fit that they could supply some little, what do they call this thing, tube, in some of the school that could accommodate it, the little water, the little children, and then they come with a little bathing suit, and they could have them in this water for a few hours to kind of cool down, because if big people seem so much of trouble to cope, I imagine these children. I look at a school in town like Green Street School. They have the place for that. They have the ground. And why I say Green Street, this is a school that dear to my heart. My last son go there, and the teachers, everybody was good. So they have this little tube in the yard, and they could have them to get a little cool down. And if they could look on a weekend, that places that could hold the tube for these little children, and them could go and get a little cool down, that will be very, very nice for these children. We have to find ways where we could help them, because it's really terrible. So if we find ways that we could put it and give them a little water, you see, the river come very important now. Now, as I could have go in the river, full up the chuck, and full up this little thing some way where he could accommodate them and get a little wash down. But we take a river and do so much wrong thing with it now. So I don't know, just a little child, look at it and see what we could do, because we don't know how long this heat will be around. So we have to come up with ways where we could help the children.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. And that would be our final caller for this morning, because we just have approximately a minute or so left onto these. So get some closing remarks, Mr. Richardson.
Yes, over the weekend, as I said, there was an earthquake in Morocco, and earthquake don't really give warning on when they would happen. And I am urging principals to please do some drills on earthquake, get your muster point, have your teachers be able to just carry out that drill. That would be a help, and it would be one in the right direction. Another one is to ensure that the younger children, they are properly shown how to cross the pedestrian crossing, and ensure, as I rightly say, to top up on your water supplies. Get a wet rag, put around your neck, and all these would help to alleviate some of the problem or the risk associated with the different hazards that we are posed with.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you very much, Mr. McIntyre, for having me. And also, if schools could probably put a little SOT team, a community emergency response team in place, so that they will be able to mitigate among the different risks and hazards in their school environment.
So true.
That would be very, very good.
All right.
So knowledge generates education. Education generates empowerment. Being empowered gives confidence to do things, and so we think that the knowledge base in terms of what to do, how to do it, could be expanded to mitigate the risk of things that are happening, particularly now that we're going through the heat wave. We believe that more stakeholders should be on board in propagating the information that would generate the knowledge, etc., so that people could react appropriately. Let me commend those who have been working on ensuring that the signs that can give knowledge and directions, we've seen some of them again, just the roundabout close to the Ministry of Education, the ministry complex. We saw that area being cleaned up, and that sign is now conspicuous from a good distance.
It's visible.
So congratulations to that.
Simple way of saying it's not visible.
It's not visible. Yes, so yeah, of course it is. So again, once again, people be safe on the road, on the streets. There are precious people that traverse our streets. Drivers, be careful. Prepare yourself mentally and otherwise before you face the road. Ensure that the instruments, the vehicles that you are using, that they are roadworthy and they are suited for a purpose.
All right. I want to thank you both for being with us this morning. An interesting program as always. You know, this could be expanded all morning long, talking about the risk management, especially when it comes to schools and road use in general. We could expand that a whole lot. I want to thank you once again, Mr. McIntyre, Mr. Richardson. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. Hey, folks, all listeners and viewers, all who participated some way or the other, whether by your phone calls, your messages, thank you so much. I know we didn't get most of the messages in this morning, but time didn't permit because the phones are still going. Until we have another program, have yourself a great day, and that's where we say goodbye for today's edition of To The Point.